The holographic display flickered, casting a ghostly blue light across Admiral Elena Rodriguez's weary face. Countless star systems blinked in and out of existence, each blue point representing a human settlement, most now extinguished. The latest data stream confirmed her worst fears. Their population had dwindled to a mere 3.7 million souls, scattered across 3 hidden colony worlds. New Terra hummed with a desperate energy. The planet itself was a marvel of survival, nestled deep within a dense molecular cloud that masked its existence from the Zorn Collective's advanced scanning technologies. Massive underground complexes stretched for kilometers beneath the planet's surface, a labyrinth of survival and resistance. Rodriguez's fingers traced the holographic map, lingering on the few remaining blue points. Each represented more than just a location. They were the last bastions of human civilization. The weight of humanity's survival rested on her shoulders, a burden she felt with every breath. Dr. Marcus Chen approached, his datapad clutched tightly against his chest. The chief scientist looked like he hadn't slept in weeks, which was probably true. Dark circles ringed his eyes, and his typically immaculate lab coat showed signs of wear. Patches hastily sewn, minor burns from countless failed experiments marking its surface. "We're running out of time," Chen said, his voice a mixture of exhaustion and something else: excitement, hope. The Zorn Collective's last campaign eliminated 87% of our remaining infrastructure. We have less than 8 years before complete extinction. Rodriguez didn't respond immediately. She knew the numbers. Everyone in the command center knew the numbers. They had become a constant background noise, a rhythm of desperation that pulsed through every human settlement. The command center was a study in controlled chaos. Holographic displays covered every wall, tracking the minimal resources they had left. Technicians moved with a precise, almost mechanical efficiency. Each person understood the stakes. This was humanity's final chapter, and they were determined to write it on their own terms. A young communications specialist, Sarah Nakamura, approached with a data crystal. Her hands trembled slightly, betraying the calm exterior she tried to maintain. "We've intercepted another Zorn communication," she reported. "They're preparing a final cleansing operation. Total eradication of human presence in this galactic sector." Rodriguez accepted the crystal, her weathered hands contrasting with the pristine technology. She had seen countless battles, survived multiple planetary evacuations, and watched as humanity was systematically hunted to the brink of extinction. But something felt different this time. A tension that suggested possibility rather than mere survival. Dr. Chen cleared his throat. "I might have something," he said, the words hanging in the air like a delicate promise. A theoretical approach that could change everything. The command center seemed to hold its collective breath. Such statements had been made before, brilliant scientists with last-ditch plans that ultimately failed. But Chen was different. He had a reputation for turning theoretical impossibilities into potential realities. Rodriguez studied the scientist. They had known each other for decades, survived together through humanity's darkest moments. If anyone could offer a genuine solution, it would be Marcus Chen. "Walk with me," she said quietly. They moved through the underground complex, passing groups of engineers, scientists, and military personnel. Each section told a story of human adaptation. Hydroponics labs producing food with minimal resources, workshops converting abandoned equipment into critical survival tools, medical centers treating injuries with improvised technologies. The corridors themselves were a testament to human ingenuity. Walls reinforced with composite materials developed during their years of resistance, power conduits creatively routed to maximize efficiency, every square meter designed for multiple purposes. As they walked, Chen began to outline something that sounded more like science fiction than a viable strategy. Rodriguez listened, her strategic mind already analyzing potential applications, potential risks. Humanity had always been at its best when backed into a corner. And right now, they were about as cornered as a species could be. "Tell me more," Rodriguez said, a spark of something dangerous. "Hope," beginning to kindle in her eyes. The research laboratory buzzed with an electric tension. Holographic displays danced with complex mathematical equations, quantum mechanics diagrams swirling like impossible cosmic art. Dr. Marcus Chen stood at the center of this technological maelstrom, his hands moving with practiced precision across multiple interactive surfaces. Rodriguez watched from the observation room, her strategic mind already parsing the potential implications of Chen's latest presentation. The Leadership Council sat in a semicircle of worn chairs, a mixture of military commanders, scientific advisors, and colony representatives. Each carried the weight of humanity's last hope. Chen took a deep breath and began his explanation. The holographic display shifted, revealing a complex model of quantum entanglement that seemed to defy conventional understanding. "Our traditional approaches have failed," he said, his voice steady and resolute. "The Zorn Collective has technological superiority that overwhelms our conventional defensive capabilities. We cannot match their fleet. We cannot outrun their systematic elimination." A murmur rippled through the room. These were hard truths everyone understood, but few dared to speak so directly. "But physics," Chen continued, "offers us a different path. Not through destruction, but through fundamental manipulation." The hologram expanded, showing intricate connections between quantum states. Lines of probability danced between points of light, creating a network that looked more like a living organism than a scientific model. Elena Rodriguez leaned forward. She had learned to trust Chen's unconventional thinking. During the Mars Exodus and the Neptune Resistance, his theories had saved millions when traditional strategies failed. If anyone could find a solution to their current impossible situation, it would be him. "We've discovered a potential method of quantum cascade," Chen explained. "Not a weapon in the traditional sense, but a fundamental disruption of atomic cohesion. Imagine being able to unravel the very fabric of space-time in a targeted manner." Sarah Nakamura, the communications specialist from the command center, raised a hand. "Wouldn't such a process destroy us as well?" Her question carried the skepticism of someone who had seen too many failed plans. Chen smiled, a rare occurrence in recent months. "That's the brilliance of the approach. We can create a quantum buffer, a protective field that isolates our specific quantum signature. The Zorn Collective's infrastructure would be vulnerable, while we remain intact." The room fell silent. Such a concept bordered on the impossible. Quantum mechanics was already a field that challenged human understanding. To suggest manipulating it as a defensive strategy seemed like pure fantasy. Rodriguez studied the faces around her. Some showed hope. Others displayed deep skepticism. A few looked terrified by the implications. Dr. Elena Volkov, the senior xenobiological researcher, spoke up. "The energy requirements alone would be astronomical. We're barely maintaining our current infrastructure. How could we possibly generate enough power for such a complex quantum manipulation?" Chen's fingers danced across the display, pulling up a series of complex calculations. "We've been looking at energy generation incorrectly. Instead of conventional power sources, we can utilize the quantum vacuum itself. Every cubic centimeter of seemingly empty space contains more potential energy than all our current power grids combined." The implications were staggering. They weren't just proposing a new weapon or defensive strategy. They were suggesting a complete reimagining of energy production and quantum interaction. "This isn't just about survival," Chen said, his voice gaining passion. "This is about understanding the fundamental nature of reality. The Zorn Collective sees the universe as something to be conquered. We see it as something to be understood." Rodriguez recognized the moment. This was more than a scientific presentation. This was humanity's declaration of resilience, a promise that even when reduced to a few million souls, they would not simply fade away. They would fight. They would understand. They would survive. "We'll need every brilliant mind we have left," Chen concluded. "This will require collaboration beyond anything we've attempted before. Physicists, engineers, mathematicians, everyone must work together." The room remained silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, a murmur of conversation began. Skepticism mixed with cautious hope. Impossible ideas were being discussed, potential approaches analyzed. Rodriguez caught Chen's eye and gave a slight nod. They both understood what this moment represented: humanity's last, best chance at survival. The spark of possibility had been ignited. The stealth vessel glided through the electromagnetic interference, a ghost among the cosmic debris. Elena Rodriguez had personally selected the infiltration team. The most adaptable, intelligent, and disciplined operatives humanity had left. Their mission was nothing short of impossible: penetrate the Zorn Collective's most secure communication networks and plant quantum entanglement nodes that would be critical to their survival strategy. Lieutenant Jack Reyes checked the ship's quantum camouflage systems. Each component had been meticulously designed to bend light, mask electromagnetic signatures, and create quantum interference that would render them nearly undetectable. Years of desperate survival had pushed human technology to its absolute limits. Approaching outer perimeter, whispered Sarah Chen, the mission's quantum navigation specialist. She was Dr. Marcus Chen's daughter, and her understanding of quantum mechanics was unparalleled. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces, creating complex probability matrices that would guide their approach. The team's objective was brutally simple yet monumentally complex. They needed to insert specialized quantum nodes into the Zorn Collective's primary communication network. These weren't ordinary communication devices. Each node was a masterpiece of quantum engineering, capable of simultaneously existing and not existing, of transmitting and receiving information through quantum entanglement in ways that defied traditional understanding. Jack reviewed the mission parameters: 3 primary targets, 12 potential entry points, countless ways this could go catastrophically wrong. The Zorn Collective's communication network was a marvel of technological sophistication. Massive quantum relays spread across thousands of star systems, creating an instantaneous communication grid that allowed their massive civilization to function with terrifying efficiency. Breaking into such a system was considered mathematically impossible by most scientific standards. But humanity had long since learned that impossible was just a challenge waiting to be conquered. Sarah's voice cut through the tension. Quantum signature matching complete. We have a 37-second window of minimal detection probability. Her voice carried both excitement and absolute concentration. Lieutenant Reyes acknowledged with a subtle hand gesture. Each team member wore advanced neural interface suits that allowed near-telepathic communication. Years of joint missions had refined their ability to work as a single, cohesive unit. The first node insertion began. A microscopic quantum device, smaller than a human cell, would be transmitted through a complex series of quantum tunneling techniques. It would essentially exist in multiple states simultaneously, slipping through the Zorn Collective's defensive systems like a phantom. Sweat beaded on Sarah's forehead. The mathematics of the insertion were mind-bendingly complex. One miscalculation could trigger a complete system alert, instantly exposing their position and potentially dooming the entire human resistance. Milliseconds stretched into an eternity. Node 1 placed, Sarah reported, her voice barely a whisper. Jack monitored the external sensors. No change in the surrounding quantum environment. No detection signals. No alarm systems triggered. The second node proved more challenging. The Zorn Collective's defensive systems had become more sophisticated in recent years. Each layer of their network was a complex puzzle, with adaptive algorithms that could detect and neutralize potential intrusions almost instantaneously. Quantum interference increasing, Sarah warned. We're pushing the limits of our camouflage capabilities. Rodriguez, monitoring from the command center thousands of light-years away, understood the delicate balance. This mission was humanity's lifeline. These quantum nodes were more than just communication devices. They were the foundation of their last, desperate strategy for survival. The third node would be the most critical. It needed to be placed in a location so sensitive that detection would mean immediate destruction. A central quantum relay that served as a critical junction in the Zorn Collective's communication infrastructure. Jack's hands moved with surgical precision. Years of training, months of preparation, and the collective hopes of millions came down to these precise moments. Node 3 prepared, he reported. Sarah's quantum calculations reached their most complex point. The node would need to exist in a quantum superposition, simultaneously present and absent, transmitted through a series of probability waves that defied traditional understanding of physics. A moment of absolute silence. Node placed, Sarah finally said. The impossible had been achieved. Humanity had just inserted 3 quantum nodes into the most secure communication network in the known galaxy. Their true test was yet to come. The holographic war room pulsed with an electric intensity. Tactical displays showed the massive Zorn collective fleet, a constellation of metallic nightmares that stretched across multiple star systems. Admiral Elena Rodriguez studied the display, her fingers tracing potential movement vectors with calculated precision. Dr. Marcus Chen stood beside her, a holographic representation of their quantum node network floating between them. The nodes are performing better than our initial projections, he reported. We're gathering unprecedented amounts of strategic data. Their plan was audacious beyond comprehension. What appeared to be a desperate final stand was actually an intricate cosmic chess match. Every movement, every apparent weakness was carefully choreographed. The Zorn collective believed they were about to deliver the final blow to humanity. In reality, they were walking into an elaborate trap designed by the most desperate and innovative minds in the galaxy. Lieutenant Jack Reyes's voice crackled through the communication system. Preliminary deception protocols are in place. We're creating multiple false signals to fragment their attack strategy. The human fleet was nothing like the massive armadas of the past. These were carefully modified vessels, each one a hybrid of scientific innovation and military efficiency. Converted research ships became mobile quantum computing platforms. Planetary defense satellites were repurposed into complex sensor networks. Every resource was maximized. Every system pushed beyond its original design. Sarah Chen managed the quantum communication grid, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. Complex probability matrices shifted and realigned, creating a communication network that was simultaneously everywhere and nowhere. The Zorn Collective's advanced tracking systems would find themselves chasing shadows. Incoming transmission, a communications specialist announced. The massive holographic display showed the Zorn Collective's fleet beginning its approach. Hundreds of thousands of vessels, each capable of destroying entire planetary systems, moved with mechanical precision. Rodriguez allowed herself a slight smile. Precision was predictable, and predictability could be manipulated. The Zorn Collective's communication patterns were a marvel of technological efficiency. Massive quantum relays coordinated fleet movements with instantaneous precision. Millions of vessels could be redirected with a mere computational thought. Their technological superiority had been the primary reason for humanity's near extinction. But technology had a weakness. It relied on patterns, on predictability. Initiating quantum interference pattern, Dr. Chen announced. The holographic display began to shimmer, quantum nodes creating subtle disruptions in the Zorn Collective's communication grid. At first, the changes were microscopic. A slight delay in fleet coordination. A momentary miscalculation in approach vectors. Tiny imperfections that would be imperceptible to most observers. But these were not most observers. Lieutenant Reyes began the next phase of their strategy. Carefully constructed communication ghosts. Quantum entangled message packets that could exist in multiple states simultaneously began to flood the Zorn Collective's communication networks. They're taking the bait, Sarah Chen reported, her voice a mixture of excitement and concentration. The Zorn fleet began to subtly adjust its approach, responding to the quantum ghosts as if they were genuine strategic communications. Rodriguez understood the brilliance of their approach. They weren't trying to defeat the Zorn Collective through traditional warfare. They were undermining the very foundation of their technological superiority, their ability to communicate and coordinate with perfect precision. Each quantum node was a precision instrument, creating microscopic disruptions that would compound into massive strategic vulnerabilities. The Zorn Collective's fleet would slowly find itself fighting against its own coordination systems. Quantum interference at 43%, Dr. Chen reported. Their fleet coordination is beginning to destabilize. The holographic display showed the first signs of chaos. Massive ships began to show slight, almost imperceptible misalignments. Communication lag times increased by microseconds. Approach vectors became marginally less perfect. To an outside observer, nothing would seem amiss. But to a fleet that relied on instantaneous, perfect coordination, these were critical vulnerabilities. "They believe they're hunting us," Rodriguez said quietly. "In reality, we're the ones doing the hunting." The gathering tempest was about to break, and humanity was ready. The quantum cascade chamber hummed with an energy that defied conventional understanding. Dr. Marcus Chen stood at the central control station, his hands hovering over interfaces that looked more like living, breathing organisms than technological instruments. Around him, a team of humanity's most brilliant minds worked with a combination of terror and exhilaration. Admiral Elena Rodriguez watched from a reinforced observation room. The weapon, if it could be called a weapon, was unlike anything humanity had ever conceived. It wasn't designed to destroy in the traditional sense. Instead, it would fundamentally challenge the very fabric of space-time. "Quantum entanglement nodes are fully synchronized," reported Sarah Chen, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. Holographic displays showed complex mathematical models that seemed to dance and breathe, probability waves shifting in impossible patterns. Lieutenant Jack Reyes monitored the external defensive systems. Their location was critical, a hidden research station buried beneath the molecular clouds of Nuterra, shielded from any potential detection. Years of preparation had led to this moment. Dr. Elena Volkov, the senior xenobiological researcher, approached Chen with a final set of calculations. The quantum cascade could have unforeseen biological implications, she warned. "We're essentially creating a fundamental disruption of atomic cohesion." Chen nodded. They all understood the risks. This was more than a weapon. It was a fundamental reimagining of how matter and energy could interact. The chamber itself was a marvel of human engineering. Constructed from materials that didn't exist a decade ago, it could contain and direct quantum interactions that would have been considered impossible by the scientific community just years earlier. Layers of quantum shielding, complex magnetic containment fields, and adaptive resonance buffers created an environment that could manipulate the very building blocks of reality. "Initiating quantum synchronization," Chen announced. The first phase was subtle. Quantum nodes placed throughout the Zorn Collective's communication network began to resonate, not with sound or electromagnetic waves, but with probability itself. They existed in a state of quantum superposition, simultaneously transmitting and not transmitting, present and absent. Rodriguez watched the holographic displays. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, almost imperceptibly, strange patterns began to emerge. "Quantum cascade approaching first threshold," Sarah reported. The mathematical models on the displays began to shift, not with traditional computational changes, but with a fluidity that suggested the very laws of physics were becoming malleable. Lines of probability twisted, creating patterns that seemed to breathe and pulse with an almost living quality. Dr. Volkov monitored biological systems. "Quantum interference is maintaining our specific molecular signature," she confirmed. Their protective quantum buffer was working. They would remain untouched while the cascade propagated. Chen's hands moved with a musician's precision. Each adjustment was a delicate balance of probability, pushing the boundaries of quantum mechanics beyond anything previously imagined. They weren't just manipulating energy or matter. They were negotiating with the fundamental structure of reality itself. "Second cascade threshold approaching," Lieutenant Reyes announced. The room seemed to vibrate at a frequency just beyond human perception. Holographic displays flickered, not with traditional electronic interference, but with a strange, almost organic uncertainty. "We're creating quantum instability," Chen explained, his voice a mixture of scientific excitement and profound reverence. "Not destruction. Dissolution. The Zorn Collective's infrastructure will essentially lose its fundamental cohesion." Rodriguez understood the brilliance of the approach. They weren't destroying the enemy. They were unraveling the very quantum foundations that allowed their civilization to exist. "Cascade initiated," Sarah confirmed. The first signs were subtle. Quantum nodes began to create microscopic disruptions in the Zorn Collective's communication networks. Probability waves spread, creating interference patterns that would slowly, inexorably, begin to destabilize entire star systems. It wasn't an explosion. It wasn't a traditional weapon of destruction. It was something far more profound. Reality itself began to shift. Humanity's final strategy was taking shape. The quantum cascade spread like an invisible wildfire through the fabric of space-time. Dr. Marcus Chen watched in awe as holographic displays began to show the most extraordinary phenomenon in human scientific history. This was more than an attack. It was a fundamental reconfiguration of reality itself. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood beside him, her strategic mind struggling to comprehend the full implications of what they were witnessing. The Zorn Collective's massive infrastructure began to dissolve not through conventional destruction, but through a complete quantum destabilization. "The cascade is propagating faster than our initial models predicted," Sarah Chen reported, her fingers dancing across quantum analysis interfaces. Complex probability matrices shifted and realigned, revealing the intricate ways the quantum nodes were systematically breaking down the Zorn Collective's fundamental existence. Lieutenant Jack Reyes monitored external communication channels. What had once been a precise, instantaneous network of galactic communication was now becoming a chaotic mess of quantum uncertainty. Entire star systems began to show signs of quantum decoherence, their very atomic structures losing fundamental cohesion. Dr. Elena Volkov approached with a series of biological analysis reports. "The quantum cascade is fascinating," she said, her voice a mixture of scientific wonder and professional detachment. "It's not destroying matter in the traditional sense. It's essentially causing matter to lose its structural integrity at the quantum level." The research team watched as the holographic displays showed entire star systems beginning to lose their defined boundaries. Not exploding, not collapsing, simply unraveling. "We're seeing quantum entanglement breakdown," Sarah explained. "The nodes are creating a cascading effect that's fundamentally altering the quantum signature of entire star systems." Chen understood the profound nature of their achievement. Traditional weapons of destruction would have simply obliterated matter. This was something far more nuanced. They were essentially causing the Zorn Collective to lose its fundamental ability to maintain structural integrity. Communication intercepts began to flood their monitoring systems. Zorn communication networks, once a marvel of instantaneous, precise information transfer, were now becoming incoherent. Messages fragmented. Coordinate systems dissolved. The very foundation of their technological superiority was crumbling. Rodriguez studied the displays with a strategic eye. "They won't even understand what's happening," she observed. The Zorn Collective's technological paradigm was so dependent on precise quantum communication that this cascade would be incomprehensible to them. The quantum nodes placed earlier were now working in perfect synchronization. Each node created a ripple of quantum uncertainty that spread exponentially. Star systems that had once been bastions of Zorn technological superiority were now becoming quantum anomalies. "Cascade is entering exponential propagation," Lieutenant Reyes announced. The holographic displays began to show strange, almost beautiful patterns of quantum dissolution. It wasn't destruction in any traditional sense. It was more like a cosmic unraveling. Dr. Volkov's biological analysis revealed something even more profound. The quantum cascade was selectively targeting the specific quantum signatures associated with the Zorn Collective. Their protective quantum buffer was working perfectly, creating a kind of quantum firewall that preserved human molecular structures. We're essentially causing a civilization-wide quantum decoherence, Chen explained. Their entire technological infrastructure relies on precise quantum communication. By introducing these uncertainty patterns, we're making their technology fundamentally unstable. Sarah Chen continued to monitor the cascade's progression. The mathematical models were becoming increasingly complex, showing how the quantum nodes were creating a kind of quantum infection that spread through the Zorn Collective's communication networks. Rodriguez understood the true brilliance of their approach. They weren't just fighting. They were reimagining the very concept of conflict. This wasn't about destruction. It was about fundamental transformation. The holographic displays showed entire star systems beginning to lose their defined boundaries. Massive technological constructs that had once represented the pinnacle of the Zorn Collective's achievements were now becoming quantum uncertainties. Cascade reaching critical propagation, Sarah reported. The room fell silent. They were witnessing something unprecedented in human history, a fundamental reimagining of how matter, energy, and communication could interact. The Zorn Collective was unraveling, not through violence, not through conventional warfare, through the pure power of human scientific innovation. Reality itself was changing. The quantum analysis chamber fell silent as the final data streams began to stabilize. Dr. Marcus Chen stared at the holographic displays, his mind struggling to comprehend the full implications of what they had achieved. The quantum cascade had done more than eliminate the Zorn Collective. It had unveiled fundamental mysteries of the universe that no civilization had ever glimpsed before. Admiral Elena Rodriguez approached, her weathered hands clasped behind her back. "What are we looking at?" she asked, a mixture of scientific curiosity and strategic caution in her voice. Dr. Elena Volkov adjusted her analysis interface, holographic data streams dancing around her. "It's extraordinary," she breathed. "The quantum cascade didn't just destroy the Zorn Collective. It's revealing entire layers of universal physics we never understood." Lieutenant Jack Reyes monitored the communication systems. What had once been a desperate survival strategy was now becoming the most significant scientific discovery in human history. Quantum data streams revealed patterns of cosmic complexity that challenged everything humanity thought they knew about reality. Sarah Chen, the quantum communication specialist, began to compile the initial findings. The cascade created quantum resonance patterns that extend far beyond our initial projections, she reported. "We're seeing mathematical relationships that suggest entire dimensions of reality we never knew existed." The research chamber was a testament to human survival. Walls reinforced with quantum adaptive materials, holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with living intelligence, every surface a reminder of humanity's ability to innovate in the face of extinction. "The protective quantum buffer we developed," Dr. Chen explained, "wasn't just a defensive mechanism. It was a key to understanding quantum existence itself." He pulled up complex mathematical models that showed how their survival strategy had inadvertently created a window into fundamental universal principles. Rodriguez understood the significance. This was more than a military victory. This was a scientific breakthrough that would redefine humanity's understanding of existence. Dr. Volkov's biological analysis revealed something even more profound. The quantum cascade had not just affected technological infrastructure. It had provided insights into the fundamental nature of matter, energy, and information that transcended previous scientific understanding. "We've essentially created a quantum Rosetta Stone," she said, her voice a mixture of excitement and reverence. "These data streams are showing us how information, matter, and energy can interact in ways we never imagined." The holographic displays showed complex probability waves that seemed to dance with an almost living intelligence. Patterns emerged that suggested entire universes of possibility existed within the quantum realm. Lieutenant Reyes compiled the strategic implications. "The Zorn Collective's technology was a limitation," he observed. "Their rigid communication systems prevented them from seeing the true complexity of reality." Sarah Chen continued to process the incoming data. "We're seeing quantum entanglement patterns that suggest communication can exist beyond traditional space-time constraints," she reported. It's like we've discovered an entirely new language of universal communication. Dr. Chen walked between the holographic displays, his mind racing with the implications. Survival wasn't just about defeating an enemy, he said quietly. It was about understanding, about pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Rodriguez reflected on their journey. Humanity had been reduced to a few million souls, hunted to the brink of extinction. Now they stood on the precipice of the most significant scientific discovery in galactic history. The quantum cascade had done more than save humanity. It had transformed their understanding of reality itself. Dr. Volkov's final analysis began to take shape. The quantum nodes they had developed were more than a defensive mechanism. They were a key to understanding how information could exist beyond traditional physical constraints. We're looking at a fundamental reimagining of physics, she said, not just for humanity. For any civilization capable of understanding these principles. The research chamber hummed with a sense of possibility. They had started this journey fighting for survival. They were ending it with a key to understanding the universe itself. Humanity had not just survived. They had transcended. Reality would never be the same. 50 years after the quantum cascade, humanity had transformed beyond recognition. The first human settlement on Novaterra gleamed beneath an artificial sky, a testament to the resilience and innovation that had saved their species from extinction. Admiral Elena Rodriguez, now in her late 70s but still sharp as ever, stood on the observation deck of the Central Administrative Complex. Her granddaughter, Dr. Elena Rodriguez Chen, approached with a holographic report dancing between her hands. The latest colony expansion is ahead of schedule, she reported. Dr. Rodriguez Chen represented the new generation, born after the Great Survival, raised on the scientific revelations that had saved humanity. Her eyes reflected a combination of scientific curiosity and profound hope that had become the hallmark of human civilization. The quantum cascade had done more than save humanity. It had fundamentally reshaped their understanding of existence, technology, and their place in the universe. Dr. Marcus Chen, now in his 80s, continued to lead the primary research initiatives. His quantum communication research had become the foundation of human technological development. Laboratories across Novaterra buzzed with activity, exploring the mysterious quantum principles unveiled during their darkest hour. Lieutenant Jack Reyes, now the chief of colonial defense, monitored the planetary defense systems. These were no longer simple military installations. They were complex quantum adaptive networks that could predict and respond to potential threats with unprecedented precision. The human settlements were nothing like the desperate underground complexes of the past. Entire cities existed in quantum-stabilized environments, with technologies that seamlessly blended biological and technological systems. Adaptive architecture responded to human needs. Energy systems drew power directly from quantum vacuum fluctuations, and communication networks operated on principles that would have seemed like magic to their ancestors. The latest archaeological expedition has uncovered something interesting, Dr. Rodriguez Chen said, pulling up a holographic display. Remnants of Zorn collective technology were being studied not as relics of an enemy, but as crucial pieces of a larger universal puzzle. Their approach to discovery had fundamentally changed. Where previous civilizations saw conquest, humans saw opportunity for understanding. The quantum cascade had taught them that the universe was far more complex and interconnected than anyone had previously imagined. Dr. Chen reviewed the latest research projections. Humanity was no longer just surviving. They were exploring the fundamental nature of reality itself. Quantum communication networks now extended beyond traditional space-time constraints, allowing for communication and data transfer that defied previous scientific understanding. The Colonial Council met in a chamber that was itself a marvel of quantum engineering. Holographic displays showed multiple planetary systems, research initiatives, and potential exploration routes, no longer confined to a single world or even a single star system. Humanity had become a truly expansive civilization. Jack Reyes presented the latest defensive capabilities, but these were not weapons in the traditional sense. They were adaptive systems that could predict and prevent potential conflicts through deep understanding and communication. "We're not just protecting ourselves," Rise explained. "We're creating a framework for universal communication and understanding." Dr. Rodriguez Chen's research team had recently made a breakthrough that would have seemed impossible decades ago. They had developed quantum communication protocols that could potentially bridge communication with other emerging civilizations, offering a path of understanding rather than conflict. The quantum cascade had been more than a survival strategy. It had been a philosophical transformation. Elena Rodriguez reflected on their journey. From a few million souls hunted to the brink of extinction to a civilization on the cusp of understanding the fundamental nature of reality. Humanity had not just survived. They had transcended. The artificial sky of Nova Terra shifted, displaying a complex projection of quantum probability waves, a constant reminder of the scientific breakthrough that had saved their species. "We were never just fighting for survival," Dr. Chen often said. "We were fighting to understand." As night fell on Nova Terra, the quantum communication networks hummed with possibility. Humanity looked not just to the stars, but to the very fabric of reality itself. A new chapter was beginning.